Today we'll be talking about how African American music played an instrumental role in getting President Obama elected. President Obama was a young senator out of Chicago in 2004. However, in 2007, he became the GOP nominee and the presidential candidate for the Democratic Party. He was young African American and was probably one of the best, more well qualified candidates we had, whether he was black or white. Um, it was the first time in a long time that the African American community had a serious candidate that could win presidency. Throughout his campaign, he used his unapologetic blackness to win over the vote, leading to an unprecedented amount of African Americans voting. It was 93%, which is the highest it's ever been. So honestly, throughout his term, he basically catered to what he knew, and he knew that the African American community would like. And one of his biggest platforms outside of free education and saving HBCUs was his love of music. He once said that celebrating black music at the White House is essential to the American experience, and it ought to reflect the amazing diversity and the imagination and the credibility and ingenuity that defines the American people. With that being said, many of the things he did on his first campaign were hip hop related, and those were the things that I'll be talking about in my version of the PowerPoint. Um, at the time that President Obama was running in 2007, one of the more well-known and famous rappers who was considered on the top at the time was Lil Wayne. He had dropped many mixtapes, and so in a speech to young students, President Obama used a reference that says, "Maybe you're the next Lil Wayne, but maybe not. So in that case, you should stay in school, so that way you'll have a backup plan if rap doesn't work." That essentially skyrocketed for him. Not only did people notice it, the African American community, the rap community noticed it, and it was one of the biggest things that had been said. And in an interview, Lil Wayne and Birdman, who is his record label's producer, stated that because of that simple quote, they had to get him elected, and they wanted to do anything to get him elected. He went to different concerts while speaking. He also went and spoke at a Kanye West concert, who's from Chicago, just like President Obama is, and he used his Chicago ties with Common Kanye West to work and get the vote in Chicago. And moving on into his inauguration and his campaign, one of the biggest things for him was he wanted to center African American music to the world. So he's the only president to have an all black lineup at his inauguration. Artists like Beyonce, Common, Stevie Wonder, the Gap Band were the people who sang his inauguration. And after his inauguration, he continued to build on to his love of music, hosting various galas at the White House and accentuating African American music. His second term, he was again endorsed by the rap community. This time with Sean Combs, or as we know him, Diddy, or Jay-Z, as one of the bigger parts of his campaign, or Beyonce and Sean Carter, who is Jay-Z. They even gave discounted tickets for people who voted or went and voted. Some people may say that that's because they just wanted people to vote, but they didn't do that for any other candidates. So I wholeheartedly think that's one of the bigger reasons, is because it was an African American candidate, somebody who was who has so much charm, and somebody we could identify with. And during his second term, also towards the end, he was essential in making the African American Museum music department grow from just Motown to rap, hip hop. You know how Run DMC, Biz Markie, and those guys are now in the museum. You can learn about the history of hip hop as well. He also was instrumental in the advancement of the Trap House Museum, which 2 Chainz created, and he endorsed it. So now that is a museum in Atlanta where people can go and learn about the history of trap music. Now, thank you very much. Those were the few things that I thought really helped President Obama get elected, and how music played a big part in that. Everyone loves music, but I think he used some of it as a great way to bridge the gap between politics and urban living, so to say, where he could put his politics in the black community and show that there could be a mix. So thank you so much.